Hi, I'm Donna. Welcome to lesson 3 of my Introduction to Yoga course. We're going to need a chair and a couple of blankets for lesson today. And we're going to start by taking a seat at the back of the mat. And you can have a seat with your legs out in front. Maybe you can sit cross-legged. Maybe you need a semi-wide position, depending on your knees. And if you can kneel, then you can kneel down. We're going to look at kneeling a little more next lesson, but something that makes it a bit more comfortable is having some padding. So if it's uncomfortable, just put legs out in front. So whatever position you are sitting, make sure your legs are comfortable and you can lift your spine. Just closing your eyes. Tuning into arriving in your space in this moment. Seeing if you can discover the effects in your body of what's going on for you. Allowing yourself to sit your spine as tall as you can. Allow your shoulders to be as relaxed as you can. Your head easefully balanced on your spine. Breathe deeply. Noticing your in-breath and your out-breath. The movement of your ribs and your belly. Good. And then we're going to reach our arms forward, and if it's comfortable for your knees, you're going to bring your big toes together and sit your pelvis back onto your heels. If that's too strong, then just keep your hips nice and high. But walk your hands forward and let the shoulders lengthen, the chest widen. So you're bringing your forehead and your chest towards the floor. You might have some restriction in your shoulders, maybe an injury. So listen to how they want to open. No pushing, just using your breath and letting yourself be as deep as you need to be in the posture. Focus on your lower back, on the breath into your lower back. Good, and then gently lifting up, and we're going to be in an all fours position. It's called cat stretch in class. Okay, we're going to stretch the fingers out wide, even spaces, and press your fingerprints and the base of your index finger into the floor. And just arching your spine up and down. Just feeling all the way along your spine. To keep that good work in your hands, even though you're concentrating on your back moving. Your knees are about hip width. Your lower legs are parallel. Stretch your thumbs towards each other. Notice where it feels easy to move in your back or where it might feel a little tight or sore. But focusing on the enjoyment of being able to move. All the way along your spine. Good, and then just find a neutral position for your spine where it feels really long. You can feel the curves of your spine, but it doesn't feel like you're sinking or compressing your spine, and lift your belly to support. Good, and we're just going to make little circles around the wrists. You only go as far forward as your wrists allow, but see if you can keep that work into your fingerprints, the base of your index fingers, go the other direction. If this is hard on your knees, you could put a blanket under your knees. Good. And then if you can kneel back onto your heels, just sit comfortably again. Otherwise, kneeling up is a reasonable version if you have trouble with your knees. And bring the backs of your hands together. So fingers are pointing down, and just watch you don't lift your shoulders when you do that. Relax your shoulders, your neck is long. Good. And then we'll bring the hands forward again. We're going to try Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog pose, just for a couple of breaths. So tuck your toes under and lift your knees off the floor. And you send your hips back and your chest towards the front of the legs. You can keep your knees bent here. Let your heels stretch down to the floor. So if you've never done this before, just taking notice of where it might feel really resistant or tight in your body. Take a couple of deep breaths. Let the shoulders be wide, space between the collarbones, the length of the neck, long, long, long. Good. And then we're going to walk forward. So you just take little steps, just take your time, and you roll up when you run out of room, or your legs start to feel too tight. Good. And we'll roll all the way out. Sweep your arms out to the side, lift your chest, look up. Good, and then reach your arms back by your sides. Just finding Tadasana for a moment, mountain pose. It's a nice even weight across your feet. Lift the front of the legs, the front of the hips, the belly, the breastbone, the top of the head. Draw the shoulder blades down, lengthen your lower back. Reach your upper arms out, palms facing your legs. Finding your breath all the way in. All the way out. Good. We're going to reach the arms up. And then as you exhale, you're going to lower your arms, bend your legs, and just hang forward. So keep your legs bent. Just hang your torso forward. So some people might be here. Some people a little closer to the floor. But notice where the most intensity is in the stretch in your body. It might be your back, it might be your back of your legs. Good. All right, so I want you to bend your knees a little bit more and lift your legs up. Your hands up now onto your legs. Good. So you're upright and you don't have that intense stretch in your legs and your back now. And then arch your spine, just like we did when we had our hands and knees on the floor. Arch your spine forward and back. Good. Finish off with the spine forward, with the chest wide. Good. And then reach your belly a little further forward. And you can either rest your hands onto the chair if you need that for a little extra support. You might be able to reach the floor, you might be holding the front of your legs. But now when you're in your forward bend, you don't have that rainbow shape in your back. Uttanasana. Neck is long, chest is wide. Try straightening your legs, and you can go for both legs at the same time, or you can try one leg. Take a couple of breaths and then the other. What we're trying to avoid is straightening the legs and then the back popping back up into a rainbow shape. Okay, so keep your awareness at reaching the spine forward, keeping the shoulder blades back. Really taking a close look at that intensity of stretch in your legs and breathing. Good, and then bend your legs and roll up. Reach your arms up, lift your chest, look up. And as you exhale, Tadasana. Great. Now we're going to use the chair. So just put it onto your mat so it's not going to slide off. And let's start just with hands at the front of the chair. We had a little go at the downward facing dog pose before. And this is a really nice way to prepare for that. Okay, so you're going to walk your feet further back than your heels. So we don't have heels right under the sit bones. We've got them towards the back of the mat. It's a bit narrow, this chair, but you want your hands about shoulder width distance. Good. And then we start to work on the chest, widening and lengthening and moving towards the floor or towards the front of the legs, and let the armpits lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. What can happen here is the shoulders are squashing into the neck space. So we want to keep the shoulder blades wide, the collarbones wide, and see if you can move a little more with that space around your neck. So just make sure you can move your neck freely. And you keep both sides of your neck long, so don't just hang your head down and squash the front of the throat. Front and back of the neck long, sides of the neck even. Press your heels, lift your kneecaps. Breathe deeply. Try not to grip your toes into the mat, lengthen your toes. Good, and then bend your knees and walking forward, just little steps till you get near to your chair. And then bend your knees and rolling up, arms up, look up. Good, and as you exhale, Tadasana. Great. There's another version of that. Turn your chair around so you've got the back of the chair facing you. And this time we're only going to step back so you've got your heels underneath your sit bones. Sit bones, heels in a perpendicular to the floor. So you need enough room to get that nice straight line. So if I'm too close, what happens is my heels are too far forward and I can't get my balance. So my spine will rainbow up to the ceiling. Okay, so have enough room so you can open the armpits, the chest, keep the sides of the neck long, front and back of the neck long. Alrighty, have a look at your knees. Feel if the back of the leg stretches so intense that you're making a rainbow shape. Okay, so bend your legs if that's the case. See if you can lengthen your spine and find that natural inward curve of your lower back, but without compressing your lower back. So some people are very flexible there. Lift your belly to support. So you want the back to feel strong and long. And again, you can try straightening your legs, but keep that awareness of the shape of your spine. Make sure your shoulders aren't squashing into your neck space. So keep the collarbones wide. Keep the shoulder blades reaching back towards your back waist. Lift your kneecaps. Right angle stretch. You can do this on a tabletop or the bench top in the kitchen. Good. And then we're going to walk forward. Nice work. Just reach your arms up, look up. And as you exhale, Tadasana. Feel the lift in the front of your legs, your belly, your breastbone, that long, graceful arch of your lower back. Not compressing, using your front core to support the length of your spine, feeling balanced. Great. You don't need your chair for the next one. Okay. You're going to stand facing, so the long edge of your mat. We'll stand with the feet together into Tadasana. Good. Bring your hands to your heart and step your feet apart a little bit wider than your leg is long. Getting your balance. Okay, you're going to turn your right toes out at 90 degrees. So that foot's sort of parallel to the sides of the mat. And you want your heel to line up with the center of the left foot inner arch. And see if you can get your toes to turn in a little. Good. So last lesson we did Trikonasana with straight legs. And a little bit different this time. You're going to lift your kneecaps. Good. and then bend your right knee. Now you just bend as far as your hip and your knee allow, might just be a little bend like that, or where we're trying to reach to is to get the femur parallel to the floor, but you only go as far as your hips are going to be comfortable with. And we're going to try and lift the front of the hips and lift the belly. And as much as you can, you're going to try and turn the front of the hips to that long edge of the mat, but you just find your way into the posture. What happens often is the right knee then is pulled inward. So we're just attempting to keep that knee to the little toe side of the foot. Good. So wherever you land, you're lifting the front core, lifting the pelvic floor, lifting the belly, lifting the spine. We're going to reach the arms and you look over your your right fingertips. Reach back into your left fingertips. So often we tend to reach over that bent leg. See if you can keep your torso perpendicular to the floor and breathe, shoulders relaxed. This is warrior 2. Feel proud. Good, and bring your hands back in front of your heart. Lifting up, turn the feet to the front. Finding your balance, your center. Good, lift your kneecaps. Great, and then we're going to turn the feet to the second side. So left toes turn all the way out. Right toes turning in. See if you can line up your heel in the center of the right foot inner arch. That's the inner arch of your foot. Good, and then we bend the left knee. So you just find where that's going to work for your body. So it might just be a little bend. You might be able to bend deeply into that posture. Just notice which way the hips are heading. And just as much as you can, we're lifting the front of the body, the front of the abdomen, and trying to roll back the right hip. Taking the left knee to the little toe side of the foot. Feel the lift of the breastbone. You're looking for that sense of power in the spine. So support and length and awareness. Reach your arms. You're looking over your left fingertips and reaching back into your right fingertips, and shoulders aren't squashing your neck. So draw your shoulder blades down so your neck is long. See if you can keep that feeling of the torso being perpendicular to the floor. Breathe. Did you forget? Well done. Bring your hands back in front of your heart. Turn your feet to face forward. Good. And then we're going to heel, toe, back to center. Stand with your feet under your hips. Stand in Tadasana, your mountain posture. Lift the front of the legs. Lift the front of the hips, the belly, the breastbone. Give yourself permission to stand tall, to take up space. Feel the deep breath. Good. We're going to use the chair again, and you move your chair to the side of the mat so that you can take a wide-legged position. Okay. And I don't need a chair, so I'll just use an invisible one. It'll make more sense. We did this last lesson. We're going to turn the feet in, toes in, heels out. And your feet are wide, a little bit wider than your leg is long. Good, and we try to press the outside edges of the feet down. We're going to lift the kneecaps, lift the quadriceps. If it hurts your knees to straighten your legs like that, keep them a little bit bent. You wouldn't want to hurt yourself. All right, take the hands at the front of your hips. Just find that space at the front of the hip crease. And we're going to make a back bend from there. So lengthen your belly, lengthen your breastbone, look up. Good, and as you exhale, lift your quadriceps. Good, and we're going to reach the torso nice and long out and over the floor in front, and you're going to put your hands down onto your chair. If you really don't need that height, then you can put them down onto the floor under your shoulders.
But it's, if you've reached down to the floor and your back is at full stretch and you're making a rainbow shape, then the chair is a better option, because I want you to bend your legs and see if you can make a rainbow and a valley. Nice deep valley shape with your spine. So arching up, squeeze the belly, and arching down. And we're going to hold that arching down position so you understand the lower back arch moving into the front of the body. Breathe into that part of your body and see if you can straighten your legs. You might have to do one leg at a time. You might be able to straighten both legs together. Good. Lift your kneecaps, lift your quadriceps, keep the chest wide, keep the shoulder blades reaching back so the neck feels nice and long. You're reaching your belly and your breastbone as far forward as you can onto your chair. If you're using your chair, or towards the floor, if you have that kind of movement in your legs. And then when you're ready to come up, you either put your hands onto the floor under your shoulders or onto your chair, and you can heel toe in, or you might make a little light jump. Good, and we're going to stand up into Tadasana. As tall as you can. Have your feet under your hips. Feet parallel, legs parallel. Lift the front of your legs, belly, breastbone, top of the head. Let yourself be tall. Let yourself take up space. Great. And now we're going to use the chair for a twist. And make sure all four legs are on the floor. Now, we're going to stand on one leg. So what you're going to do is stand on your right leg. But before you lift your left leg up, just stand with your feet under your hips and your feet parallel. Okay, and so then you're going to stand up. Now, if you're really wobbly trying to do that, then if your chair is close enough to the wall, so you move your chair across. Okay, you can hold onto a wall. But it'd be really good if you could use the muscle in your right leg. All right, so make sure your feet are facing forward. And when you stand up, it's kind of the same distance. So the feet are about hip width distance, even though one's forward. Okay, so it's not like that with the left knee in front. Make sure the left knee is right over the ankle and you feel balanced over your standing leg. And just check in with the hips. Do they feel level to the floor? So see if you can do that. Good. And we want to find that really optimal shape of the spine. So really lifting your front core to support your back core and let your spine lengthen, let your shoulders relax. Good. You're going to take your right hand and put it onto the outside of your left knee and take your left hand onto your sacrum, that flat piece of bone at the back of the pelvis. Good, and lift your spine and turn your ribs. You can use your arms against your legs to help you turn. But we're not turning at the standing ankle or knee. So the hips should stay level to the front edge of your chair. So your knee stays facing forward. You don't twist your knee. So if you knee to the wall, because for balance, you could hold on to the wall. Good. So you can be strong with the turn of the ribs. Remember, your right knee faces forward, but gentle with the turn of your neck. Find the breath deep. Good, and then coming back to center and changing sides. So starting off with the feet parallel, facing forward. So you might need to turn your chair around if you're going to use the wall, like that. So now when you pick up your right foot, you've got the wall to hold on to. Okay, so from feet parallel, picking up your right foot. So your feet are still parallel and about hip width distance. And we keep the right knee over the ankle and find your good support for the spine by keeping the pelvis level to the floor and the left knee faces forward. Good, and then we bring the left hand to the outside of the right knee. Good, and the right hand onto the sacrum and lengthen the spine. Let yourself lift. Draw the shoulder blades down, turn your ribs. And you can turn your ribs strongly, but your neck gently. Just make sure that left knee stays facing forward. You're not twisting your knee to try and turn. You're really only turning the ribs. Good, and then release. We're going to take another downward facing dog pose. So bring your hands onto the chair. Just step your heels back. Good, so remember, keep the chest wide. Armpits lengthen towards the floor. The chest lengthens. Keep the sides of the neck long, front and back of the neck even length. Feet are parallel, knees face forward. Lift your kneecaps. Good work, and then bend your knees and rolling forward. Stand with your feet underneath your hips, bend your knees, sweep your arms out to the side, lift your chest, lift your arms up, look up. Good, and as you exhale, Tadasana. Great. And now we're going to use the chair for seated forward bend. And let's see, I'm going to put that there. All right, take a seat at the front of your chair. Have your feet or your ankles under your knees, so not behind, right underneath, so 90, 90. Okay, you're going to take your right heel and put that up onto your left knee. And if that feels really tight in your hip, you can support your knee so that it's doable. Some students might not be able to lift the heel up, so don't worry, you're in good company. And what you can do is get a little footstool and put your foot so it's not quite as high, but you get that nice opening for your hip. Okay, so you might be holding here, or you might be able to just rest your hands lightly on your leg. Good, and we're going to try and re-establish that inward curve of the lower back, that nice lift as you use the front core to lift, but relaxed shoulders, relaxed neck. Just imagine that right knee could move a little closer to the floor. Good. And we're going to lift the belly and lift the breastbone and just see if there's some room to tip your torso forward onto the front of your sit bones. Maybe you can reach a long way. So you're listening, being respectful of your hips. Make a little space in your belly so you're not tense there, otherwise there's no room to move. Shoulders relax. Good, and then releasing and heel back underneath your knee. Good work. And then left heel, right knee. Okay, so if that's a really intense movement for your hip, don't overdo it, of course. So use your little stool and you put your foot like that. Okay, you can support with your hands under your knee if you feel you need that, or you can just rest your hands lightly onto your leg. But do tune into how you're sitting again. So find the length of your spine. Use the front core to support the shoulders. Let them be relaxed. Bring your breath into the restriction in your body. See if you can find a little more space. The left knee moving gently, no pushing, just opening towards the floor. You might even find you've got a little room to reach the torso forward. So we're lifting the belly, lifting the breastbone, rolling a little further forward onto the front of the sit bones. Keeping the chest wide, the neck long and relaxed, the shoulders relaxed. Good. And then releasing. And we're going to lay down onto the floor now. And you don't need your chair. So laying down in a way that's comfortable for you, you can have a blanket under your head if you need it. So when you lay on the floor, just always check in that it's comfortable for your neck. And if it feels like this, you're reaching your head and you're squashing the back of your neck to get onto the floor, that's when you might need a blanket under your head. So we'll just take a moment to arrive and take in the effects of your practice so far in your body. It's finding the curves of your spine where they're supported or reach away from the floor. And feel that your legs are parallel, that your feet are parallel. Okay, we're going to do some little back bends. And what you might find if you do have trouble with getting your head onto the floor and you've got a head support in underneath, that when you lift up, then it's too strong the other way. So learn to be really respectful of your neck, your throat, your esophagus, very important. And just see what that feels like in your neck. You want to keep it really long, both sides, front and back of the neck as you lift up and down. So we're just going to lift the hips. Coming off my mat here. Up and down. Start to be aware of the joints of the spine and how much movement there is between each bone of your spine. Sometimes when you lift, it feels like the spine lifts up in one great slab. So look for that movement. You might even try wiggling your hips a little from side to side. So you can be a little bit playful, finding where it feels really nice to lift up. Maybe it's a difficult movement for your back. So being kind to yourself with this movement. Good, and we're going to do one more. And this time hold and lift up nice and high. Press into your feet, parallel feet. Lengthen the front of the thighs, parallel thighs, and lift the front of the hips. Lift the sternum towards your chin. That's where you want to feel the back of the neck long, not squashing the front of the throat. Good, and then we're going to lower down and go bone by bone, looking for that easy movement between each bone of your spine. And then thoroughly relaxing back into your comfortable position. So head support if you need it. Otherwise, using the floor as that nice guide for keeping the back of the head, the shoulder blades, the sacrum in one line. Great. We're going to try Baddha Kanasana. Take the soles of the feet together and let the knees out wide. So you want the soles of the feet in the center line of the body as much as you can. If this were to just feel too strong for your hips, you could take your blankets, roll one blanket under one thigh and one blanket under the other thigh. I'll just show you what I mean. Just whatever height support feels really nice for you. So sometimes if you've got a hip injury on one side, you feel like, oh, well, I'll just support one side, but then that's going to tip the pelvis and twist the spine. And it's really nice to have symmetry, so always supporting both sides, even if only one hip is sore. Good. So whatever support you need here, whether it's under your head and your neck, so that the front and back of your neck are even in length, or under your thighs. Letting tension out of your body wherever you can. Enjoy the breath. You might even like the feeling of bringing your hands onto your belly, feeling the rise and fall. Good. And then you're going to bring your legs in. If you can do that just with your leg muscles, do that. Otherwise, use your hands to help take the support out if you have that. Bring the inside edges of your feet together, knees together. Lift your hips and swing them to the left. And then you take your knees to the floor on the right. Okay, they might not go all the way to the floor, so you can put one of those supports back in underneath, but you're going to try and keep your left shoulder blade onto the floor. It should be a really good stretch for your back. So sometimes it's going to be strong, or it's just going to pull a muscle that might be already under tension. So you can change it by moving your knees. So you can bring your knees up higher. That might feel like a better stretch. Maybe you just need a little bit less of a stretch, so you put your support in underneath your legs. But letting the shoulders be nice and relaxed onto the floor. So make the twist your own. I like to add a little bit by putting my right hand onto my left thigh and stretching a little further. You can have your left arm just relaxed or out from your shoulder. Good. Squeeze your pelvic floor and core to lift your legs. Lift your hips and swing them to the right. And then your knees are going to go towards the floor on the left. And same thing, you sort of want the same shape that you did on the first side, on the second side. So just discovering what that might be for you. But keep the shoulders wide, shoulder blades relaxed onto the floor. Put your hands where it feels most comforting for you. They might be closer into the body. You might have that nice big stretch. You might use your left hand onto your right knee and add a little to the twist of your spine. But wherever you land, then giving yourself to the posture. Enjoying the breath. Letting go. Good, and then as you release, remember, squeeze the core, squeeze the pelvic floor. You're lifting your legs. Good, and we're going to lay out for the relaxation. So a couple of ways you can support real comfort in your body is, again, that head support. Sometimes it's just nice for some softness under your head. I don't really need to lift my head off the floor, but I'm just going to take a thin version. So you feel whether the back and front of your neck feel even in length. The other thing that might be awkward when you lay down flat is your lower back. So firstly, make it as long as you can. So you bend your legs in, tuck your tailbone up, and then put your legs back out again. And if that still feels uncomfortable in your lower back, then take a roll or a blanket, and that blanket goes under the thighs. The closer it is to your tailbone, the more relief for your lower back. So you might like that. It's worth getting your equipment to feel like it really supports your body in its optimal position. So your spine is long. You feel as symmetrical as you can. You just let your legs roll out then and your arms out from the sides of your body, palms up. Just make sure your shoulders aren't squashing into your neck space, so draw the shoulder blades down. No impediments to your relaxation. Find each breath, its ebb and flow. Notice where you can feel the breath moving in and out of your nostrils. Feel the temperature of the in-breath. Compare that to the temperature and humidity of your out-breath. It might take an act of imagination, but see if you can follow the journey of the breath deeper into your body. Through the windpipe, into the lungs, into the bloodstream, into every cell, whole body. Stay here for as long as you like. Thank you for joining me in this practice. Take the feeling of this practice with you. Namaste.